if we all just change our, general understanding of, what healthy looks like, I think that'd be very productive for, our society.
Hello, and welcome everyone to this very special Fresh Perspectives episode. I'm James Irvios, Vice President and Chief Operating Officer here at the Obesity Action Coalition, and today I have the honor of chatting with gold medal winning Olympic swimmer Chase Kalisz, a three-time Olympian with gold and silver medals in the men's 400-meter individual medley. Chase is a strong advocate for those living with obesity, which is why we asked him to join us today. Witnessing his mother's struggle with weight and the stigma surrounding obesity, he uses his platform to raise awareness about the complexity of the disease, emphasizing the need for empathy and support in the journey to better health. Welcome, Chase.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Very excited to talk with you. Just you're back from the Olympics, and we're going to get into that. And we'll talk about what that must have been like. But the article that came out in Men's Health, and I had the pleasure of being quoted alongside you in that article, really was very impactful. It got so many people talking, so many people in our membership about this issue that we're dealing with obesity and stigma. And I know this is very close to your heart, and so. Obesity is not a cause everyone in the public eye chooses to support. What motivates you to speak out and advocate for those affected by obesity? And why is this issue so close to your heart?
Yeah, of course. It's definitely stigmatized in the public perception. For example, a personal story of mine is my mother. I grew up my entire life with my mom waking up at 5 a.m. She would do full workouts, eat healthy, come back sweating before I even woke up, and, still struggled with weight loss. And, I think the biggest message I want to, drive home is, that this looks different for everybody. This isn't, black and white for everybody. People living with obesity, it's a chronic disease, and, what works for someone doesn't work for other people. And, I think that needs to be more understood.
Yeah, Chase, and your mom's experience with obesity has made a big impact on you. And can you talk about how that's really shaped your views and driven you to speak out against stigma? Because this is not an easy thing to speak out about. I mean, when you're speaking out about obesity or stigma, you can get a lot of backlash very, very quickly. So speak a little bit more to that.
Yeah, like with my mom's example, I saw her, personal struggles and societal struggles that she had as well, little tiny comments like, she would go on be really motivated and work out really hard and lose a good bit of weight. And, the only comment people came up to her and said was, wow, you lost all this weight. You look so great. At, surface level, it's a compliment, but, it's someone basing their opinions or their perception on you from a previous, time in your life. And, we all go through ups and downs, and my mom was doing everything she could to, be healthy and lose weight. And it just necessarily wasn't the easiest thing for her based on her body type.
Yeah, Chase, you brought up a very interesting point there in the ups and downs. And excuse me, that's very much how OAC has approached this for more than 20 years right now, is it's that life, that journey, right? So you have these good times, these bad times, and how does that impact weight, right? And really how people are perceiving that. And there's often a gap between how the public perceives obesity and the lived experiences of people that are affected by it. What do you think are the biggest misconceptions? You spoke to some of them, right? And some of the kind of the comments that maybe come out of left field, but what do you think some of those misconceptions are?
I think the biggest misconception with people living with obesity is that it's a chronic disease. This isn't something like, it's very easy for someone that's fit to say, eat at a calorie deficit, you've got to work out this amount of hours or so each amount each week, to stay healthy. It's not true for everybody. Everybody's different. And, especially with how we are as an online society, you look at, a lot of these, fitness influencers, and you're seeing a rise, which I think is a good thing, of, people that are sharing their journey that aren't necessarily your bodybuilders or fitness experts. But, it's really unfortunate when you open the comments and you see nothing but hate and a lack of understanding of what these people are going through.
Yeah, and I will tell you that even again in our experience, I mean the level of hate and shame that exists, and people are talking about weight more these days. We're talking about obesity more right now, but there's still a very high level of stigma that's out there. And one thing that you talked about, and I think you brought this to the international stage, the global stage, is the value of the support system and how having a strong support system can make a huge difference in someone's journey with obesity. With the knowledge that you learned about this disease, how have you and your family supported your mom? And what advice would you give others looking to be there for their loved ones as well?
Yeah, I've supported my mom the same way we always have in our family. It's, we see how much of a hard work and effort she's putting in every single day, trying to meet this goal that society, has disposed upon all of us. So, that's a struggle to begin with, that, there's one specific look that society, places upon us that we need to look. And if you don't look that or fit that mold, then you're kind of cast away. And we've always supported my mom, and we know how hard she works. We love her to death. And we know she's doing the best she can every single day, and she's a great person. So, I think just the stigma around it is so terrible right now, especially in online forums. And I think, we all need to maybe grow up a little bit on online and how we act and how we treat people. I mean, how can you shame someone when you look at a post and you're showing someone's workout journey and you just see hateful comments? That person's trying to better themselves. And, we're not going about this the right way.
Yeah, and you talked a little bit earlier about the fitness influencers that exist today, and kind of how that's shaping an environment and shaping narrative. And obviously coming from a world of elite sports, you've probably seen some very strong opinions about weight and fitness. How do you think views on obesity differ in the athletic world compared to the general public? And what do you think we could do to change those perspectives? And I really think this had a spotlight thrown on it during this year's Olympics as well, where there were some athletes that were sort of thrust into the media, not necessarily even because of the achievements they were making at the Olympic Games, but more so because of their appearance and size. And I think it's always thought of in the sports world, there's this idea of what somebody should look like, but we know that that's not true. That strength, it comes in all shapes and sizes. So what do you think we've seen with those perspectives?
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point. And actually, I think in some degree, from an athlete's perspective, is almost a kind of a healthy way to look at it. In the sport of swimming, we have a lot bigger, broader shoulders, bigger builds, not your standard BMI that, would be necessarily deemed healthy. And these are elite athletes. And you look across all these other sports, you're seeing similar builds of athletes that, again, are not deemed in the healthy category, but they're the best of the best. They're extremely healthy. They're extremely fit. They eat right. And that's just another big stigma, is that there's not one mold for healthy to be defined as healthy. There's so many different body types. There's so many different, metabolisms, and varying factors that, go into it. We're not all identical. We're all different body sizes and different to that degree. So, I think athletics is, for the most part, a pretty healthy perspective, because we all kind of go through the same thing. We understand that, to achieve your goal, you have to do certain things and certain things that work for you. And, what works for me in training doesn't work for someone else. And, that's a great example for someone trying to, struggling with weight loss, is what works for someone doesn't work for you. So, it's actually a pretty refreshing perspective to kind of see. And I think most of us all really understand that, and we would kind of like to share that perspective with the world.
Very well said, Chase. And final question here. If you could encourage one major change in how society views and treats people with obesity, what would that be? How can we all contribute to making that happen?
I think it kind of touches back on what I just said. I think if we all just change our, general understanding of, what healthy looks like, I think that'd be very productive for, our society. We would see a lot less, hate online. That's another thing. We need to empathize with people a lot more. There's more of a personal aspect to it. And, everybody's going through their own things simultaneously. we're all struggling in different ways, and you kind of only see surface level stuff. So, I think changing the perspective on really overall what healthy looks like and what it takes to get there is so vastly different between people, would generally be very good for us.
Well, Chase, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for all of your achievements representing the United States at this year's Olympics. And most of all, thank you for advocating for people with obesity, especially your mom and her journey. We really appreciate your time. And again, thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And thank you all for joining us today. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe and consider supporting the OAC's educational programming by making a donation at obesityaction.org/donate.